Good morning and welcome. You're watching Daybreak on Bloomberg Quint Live. I'm Alex Matthew. First, let's look at the headlines. The Nikkei opens with gains of more than 1% amid thin trade as a number of Asian markets stay shut for the Chinese Lunar New Year. Tata Steel emerges as the top bidder for the two Bhushan steel and power companies, and Dalmia Bharat leads the race for Binani Cement. Religare appoints 3 new board members as it looks to get the house in order. The company will also raise 1,200 crore rupees. And more banks put out their exposure to the 11,400 crore PNB fraud, even as 3 bank employees are sent to police custody by a CBI court. Let's turn to international markets now, and here's a recap of what's happened in the US markets on Friday. The S&P 500 ended marginally higher on Friday to mark its biggest weekly increase in 5 years. Gains early in the session were wiped out after the indictment of 13 Russians in St. Petersburg for meddling in the 2016 presidential election sent investors into defensive mode. The Dow also extended its winning streak to 6 days in a row and posted strong weekly gains. Bloomberg's Abigail Doolittle wraps up all the action on Wall Street in this report.
It was a bumpy day for U.S. stocks that ended mixed. The Dow and the S&P 500 finished fractionally higher, and the Nasdaq finished down about 0.2%. It was the 6th up day, though, for both the Dow and the S&P 500, the longest such winning streak for the Dow since November of last year. Now, relative to the day, there was some decent intraday volatility, with the 3 major averages trading both higher and lower. In fact, the Dow had an intraday range of more than 1%. Now, behind the move to the downside in the afternoon was the news that Special Counsel Robert Mueller has indicted 13 Russians and 3 companies for hacking during the U.S. election. That really created a sense of uncertainty. Hit especially hard were Facebook and Twitter, both down more than 1.4%. It is thought that these social media platforms were used by the meddlers, and investors may fear that the companies should have responded differently or that regulation could be ahead. And of course, Bloomberg LP does have a breaking news network on Twitter called TikTok. As for other movers on the day, Coca-Cola climbed on a solid earnings report, as did Deere, the equipment company. Lower, though, Kraft Heinz. This on a disappointing quarter and speculation that the company may need to make an acquisition to fuel growth. But perhaps the biggest stock story on the day is the fact that the major averages finished the week with big gains. The S&P 500 had its best week since 2013, and the Nasdaq had its best week since 2011. This on strong rebound buying from 2 weeks of intense selling pressure. In New York, Abigail Doolittle, Bloomberg News.
Well, that was the update on the U.S. market. Let's take a look at those Asian markets that are trading currently. And the Asian markets that are trading have opened higher, helped by a weaker yen, and after U.S. equities capped their best week, as we told you, in 5 years. The dollar steadied and oil consolidated above $60 a barrel mark. And Asian equities are building on their best week since September 2016, with stocks in South Korea also gaining, even as markets in Hong Kong and China are closed for the Lunar New Year holiday. There's another update for you. In the latest escalation of trade tensions between the world's top 2 economies, China has threatened retaliation after the Trump administration in the US received a green light to impose steep tariffs on aluminium and steel imports. U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross on Friday recommended a possible global tariff of at least 24% on imports of steel and 7.7% on aluminium after investigations into trade in both metals determined that import surges seen in recent years threatened to impair the national security of the United States. The U.S. Commerce Department argued that the rapid rise in China's production of steel and aluminium in recent years has depressed international prices. Kobe Steel has warned of ramifications of this move, saying that the measures, if enacted, will make it difficult for the industry to avoid an impact. Well, let's turn to the Indian market, and Agam Vakil is here to set you up for the day's trade. Good morning, Agam. How is it looking today?
Well, good morning, Alex. What we're looking at, starting from the SGX Nifty, an indication of a little bit of a positive start, although we are expecting a consolidation largely when it comes to our own market. So that's as far as the SGX Nifty is concerned. Just short of the 10,500 mark. Let's also take a look at how the ADRs have done. We've seen mixed cues playing it out in the US markets, and following that, we have seen some weakness in the likes of ICICI Bank, Vedanta, Tata Motors, and HDFC Bank. Severe cuts, of course, coming in for ICICI. And Wipro and Dr. Reddy's, on the other hand, largely seeing some amount of consolidation. It's the same for Infosys. But moving in, let's talk about the commodities as well. And when it comes to crude, as you can see, we really haven't seen too much of a change there. Just about a 1% increase as far as NYMEX goes. And when it comes to ICE Brent, that again advancing by as much as 0.7%. Metals, on the other hand, are looking at more consolidation. So as you can see, something like a gold or a silver largely flattish right now. And when it comes to aluminium, that has moved up by as much as nearly 2%, but not too much to speak for when it comes to copper, zinc, nickel, or lead for that matter. So largely consolidation when it comes to some of these metal prices. Moving on, when it comes to fund flows in our own markets, what we saw last Friday was an outgo of nearly 1,000 crores from the FII point of view, and DIIs, on the other hand, plowed back in another 1,100 crores. On a month-to-date basis, that means for now, FIIs are minus nearly $1 billion, and of course, DIIs are plus by as much as 7,780 odd crores. What are we keeping an eye on when it comes to our own markets, that is the equity markets? Well, as you can see, the Nifty did decline by as much as 0.9% last Friday, but the mid cap and the small cap indices took slightly deeper cuts. So the weakness in the broader markets was deeper. The VIX, of course, remained at around the mark of 16.4. Not too much has changed there. And what we've seen is the largest cuts in something like a PSU or an auto sector, but in the Nifty too. As you can see, we've seen some amount of weakness coming in on the back of Reliance Industries, ICICI Bank, and Larsen & Toubro, followed by SPI, all reasonably heavyweights. And Kotak Mahindra Bank and Infosys, on the other hand, well, trying to keep the indices in place. But on the whole, once again, we will watch out for how the opening trade pans out, and how that will determine trade as we move into the second half of the session as well.
I was also very keen on finding out what's happening in the futures and options space, Agam.
Right, Alex. So when it comes to the futures and options, as you can see, we haven't really seen too much change in the open interests for the Nifty or the Nifty Bank too. Coming down to Nifty Bank futures as well, there you have it, just about 4.5% increase in open interest. Moving in, as I was mentioning earlier, we haven't seen too much change in the India Volatility Index, currently standing at 16.4, but the put-call ratio, well, that again largely around the same level at around 1.07. What we have seen is a considerable amount of writing in the 10,500 and 6,600 calls. And the 10,500 call specifically determines a near-term support, at least for now, as far as the Nifty goes. Moving in, Fortis Healthcare, of course, is back into the band. There has been a lot of volatility in this particular stock, and declined by as much as 4% last Friday. Torrent Pharma looking at, well, a little bit of unwinding, as you can see here. And we're also looking at a lot of traction in Motherson Sumi, which actually saw a substantial amount of selling. So fresh shorts building in there. And of course, the reason why we're looking at a decline is that we are moving into expiry weeks. So there's plenty of queues coming in from expiration of these contracts as well. So we'll be keeping an eye on these as well as we move into today's day of trade.
Thanks so much for that, Agam. Now, the Singapore Stock Exchange will continue to work with India's National Stock Exchange to develop a link that will allow international market participants to trade on NSE's International Exchange in Gujarat. A filing by the International Finance Tech City states that SGX is of the view that the link would increase participation in Gujarat International Financial Tech City and on the SGX. SGX also intends to list a successor products to the SGX Nifty family before August, providing market participants with the same ability to maintain their risk exposure to the Indian capital markets. There have been new developments in the Nirav Modi PNB fraud case on Saturday. The Mumbai Sessions Court sent 3 officials into police custody for 14 days. Riddhima Saxena filed this report earlier. Listen in.
There are some new developments in the Nirav Modi Punjab National Bank fraud case, in which the Mumbai Sessions Court has sent the authorized signatory on behalf of Nirav Modi, Hemant Bhatt, and the two accused officials of Punjab National Bank, retired Deputy Manager Gokulnath Shetty and single window operator Manoj Kharat, to police custody for 14 days. The remand application of CBI has observed that the scam may likely be over 6,000 crore rupees, and it also suspects some other unknown officials of Punjab National Bank to also be involved in the case. Even as the investigation is still ongoing, the court has allowed the legal counsels of all the three accused to be able to meet the accused during the police custody.
Now, the Deputy General Secretary of the PNB Employees Association says that Manoj Kharat is being framed and the union will fight to get him back at the bank. Listen in.
खरात के लिए वो इनोसेंट है, 2-3 साल ही उनको बैंक में ज्वाइन होके हुए हैं, तो उनको फॉरेन एक्सचेंज का पूरा नॉलेज नहीं था, उसका फ़ायदा किसी ने उठाया और उसको जो काम वो करवाया। उसने क्या किया है डिटेल में, इसके लिए हमको भी वो पूरा जानकारी नहीं है। इसके लिए जो अगर मैंने आपको पहले भी बोला कि जो जनरल सेक्रेटरी है वो उसमें
एक चीज़ जानना चाहेंगे, सिर्फ इतना बता दें कितने सालों से काम कर रहा था और
3 साल
बैंक में रोल क्या था? बैंक में काम रोल क्या?
क्लेरिकल का रोल है, क्लेरिकल का रोल है, टाइपिंग करना। जो ऑफिसर बोलता है, मैनेजर बोलता है, टाइपिंग करने का काम है उसका।
किसके निर्देश आपको लगता है जिसकी वजह से?
और उसकी जगह पे दूसरे लोगों ने भी काम किया, वैसे ही काम किया है, लेकिन सस्पेंड इसको किया गया, अभी बलि का बकरा बना। ऐसा है।
आपको लगता है गोकुलनाथ शेट्टी के निर्देश पे उन्होंने टाइप किया होगा? शेट्टी के निर्देश पे कुछ टाइप किया?
हाँ, जरूर।
सर, यूनियन अभी क्या करेगी अपने बच्चों को बचाने?
देखो भाई, अभी हम लीगल लड़ाई तो लड़नी पड़ेगी ना हमको।
उनका लीगल प्रोटेक्शन और लीगल
एक सवाल है कि साल में एक बार तो
उनको बैंक में वापस लाना, ये हमारा ध्येय होगा, क्योंकि हमको पूरी तरह से पता है कि वो इनोसेंट है, इसका इसमें कोई हाथ नहीं, न उसने उसमें से एक पैसा खाया हुआ।
And Manoj Kharat's lawyer, Kudrat Sheikh, states that he was just following the instructions given by senior officials. Here's what he said.
सीबीआई का जो रोल है, कहना है 120B के तहत हनुमंत खरात को अरेस्ट किया है। उनका कहना है कि मोदी और दूसरे बड़े गुर्गों के साथ में इसकी जानकारी थी, इसके कॉन्टेक्ट्स थे, अंडर मैनेजिंग ये काम करते थे, इसलिए हमने 120B कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग में उनको अरेस्ट किया है कि उनके साथ में इसका रोल होगा। उनके जो जनरल मैनेजर थे वो गोकुलनाथ शेट्टी के कहने पे जो भी वो आदेश देते थे, जो भी कहते थे और जो भी डिक्टेशन देते थे, वो डिक्टेशन के हिसाब से वो टाइप करते थे और लेटर तैयार करके सेम अपना सिग्नेचर करके उनको वापस करते थे कि जैसा आपने मुझे कहा है मैं वैसा ही लेटर बनाया हूँ, आपको ये दे रहा हूँ।
Now, Tata Steel is the front runner for both Bhushan companies, that's Bhushan Steel and Bhushan Steel and Power, that are under insolvency proceedings at the moment. The country's second largest steelmaker is said to have put in the highest bid for both the stressed companies, beating JSW Steel. Vishwanath Nair joins in on the phone line with all the details. Vishy, what are we looking at here?
Alex, so what we understand through our sources is that on Friday there was an informal lenders meet where Bhushan Steel lenders had opened the bids that have come in for the case. Now we already knew that only JSW Steel and Tata Steel were the two companies that had bid for Bhushan Steel's assets. JSW Steel had bid through a consortium wherein some other partners are also there. According to what our sources are telling us, JSW Steel had bid about 30,000 crore for the company. Now remember that just the financial creditors bid in Bhushan Steel is over 56,000 crore. And add to that the operational creditors and some other dues that are pending. So that would have meant a significant haircut. Tata Steel on its part has bid a total bid of 45,000 crore. In which the financial creditors would get about 35,000 crore, and the rest is split between operational creditors and working capital needs of the company. So obviously, lenders are considering Tata Steel as the highest bidder at this point in time, and they've decided that they will go ahead and only negotiate with Tata Steel as long as this resolution under insolvency is going on. In the case of Bhushan Power and Steel, Tata Steel has bid about 17,000 crore for the company, while JSW has bid only 11,000 crore. So clearly there is a big gap between the two bids. Besides, JSW's bid is very close to the liquidation value of about 10,000 crores that the company had gotten from an independent evaluator. So these are the two bids that have come in, and Tata Steel is clearly leading in both the companies. Now, what is going to happen is the lenders are going to discuss these bids and will be taking them up to their respective boards. And after they have all the necessary approvals, they will be sending the highest bidders bid to the NCLT for the final approval. And then, depending on all of that, the company then moves on to Tata Steel.
Quick question here, Vishy. Is there also a possibility of JSW Steel being given the option to match the bid?
So unlikely, because according to what the Indian Banks Association has decided, they will be only negotiating with the highest bidder. They will not be looking at the second bidder in this game. So they will be only further, if they feel that that Tata Steel's bid could be improved a little bit, then they will only be negotiating with Tata Steel. Otherwise, JSW would be out of the picture. That is what we understand. But of course, this was an informal meeting. So once the formal meeting happens, then we'll know what happens after that.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for those updates, Vishy.
Thanks.
Now, on to the stock of the day. Religare Enterprises has constituted a new board post the resignation of its promoters. Nikki Chandani is here with all the details there. Morning, Nikki.
Hi Alex, the company has constituted a new board and has inducted 3 new board members. The announcement comes after Malvinder brothers, both the promoters of the company, resigned in the previous week after they were accused of siphoning of funds, and the new board is formed to ensure highest corporate level corporate governance and effective management for the company. Separately, in a development, the company board has also decided to raise fund to the tune of 1,200 crore. This will be through a mix of both the equity as well as debt, and it has separately formed a committee to decide upon the issuance mode, and the committee is expected to meet today to decide as to how much will be the tune of the mix would be. Also, just to give you a little background about what's going on with Religare Enterprises, now the stock has been up for past 9 consecutive sessions, which is also its the longest winning streak that we have seen since November 2007, and it has been under scrutiny from regulators for fund diversion and a large and non-performing assets.
Thanks so much for that, Nikki. Now, what are the other stocks that you have to watch out for in trade today based on news developments? Well, Shraddha is here to tell you all about the stocks in news. Morning, Shraddha.
Morning, Alex. So to start off with, it is Tata Steel, which has said to have emerged as the top bidder for Bhushan Steel. That's according to Bloomberg Quint's banking sources, and that was for a bid value of 45,000 crores. So we could see some reaction on Bhushan Steel today. Watch out for that name. You also have Dalmia Bharat and Binani Industries, which will be in focus. Now, this is on the back of a Bloomberg News report which says that Dalmia Consortium is set to have bid over 6,300 crores for Binani Cement, while Ultratech had bid just about 6,200 crores or so. So watch out for those names as well. More on the PNB fraud case, where City Union Bank said that they have suffered fraudulent remittances of about 12 crores, so a smaller exposure there. But when it comes to UCO Bank, they have admitted an exposure of about 2,600 crores. So watch out for those names as well. You have a Times of India report which says that Singapore's GIC may buy 40% in Prestige Estate projects rental unit for about 1,400 crores. So keep an eye out for that name. Power Grid, it has emerged as the lowest bidder for 1,000 crore transmission project according to a PTI report. Then you also have Natco Pharma, which could see some marginal sentimental positive reaction. Now this could come in on the back of the US FDA inspection completion at the company's Mekaguda API unit, where they had received no observations under Form 483. So watch out for that name. And lastly, you also have PVR, where the company has said that they have amicably resolved a dispute with Elan Group over the development of multiplexes in Gurugram. So there's some issues with respect to this case earlier. So you could see some reaction there as well, Alex.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for that, Shraddha. Now, the stage is set for the world's first Hyperloop, and it's being built in India. Virgin Hyperloop One, that's Richard Branson company, that's signed a framework agreement with the government of Maharashtra to connect Mumbai and Pune through Hyperloop. If you didn't already know, a Hyperloop is a transportation system that involves pods moving in a tube that's pumped to near vacuum. Once completed, This would reduce the travel time between the two cities to 14 to 25 minutes. But it's not coming anytime soon. In a conversation with Sajith Mangat, Virgin Hyperloop One CEO Rob Lloyd said that he expects Hyperloop to be operational in 6 to 7 years. Listen in.
We're extremely excited to be able to sign a framework agreement that would lay out the steps required to build the world's first Hyperloop right here in the state of Maharashtra, connecting Pune to Mumbai, and hopefully carrying millions of passengers a year.
You know, you have been working on the Hyperloop technology for roughly around 4 years now. Can you give us an idea of when do we, as Indians or Mumbaikers, will be able to get the Hyperloop in Mumbai, Pune?
Well, last year, historically, we've demonstrated for the first time in the world an actual operational Hyperloop. We did that at our test and development site just north of Las Vegas, and that was a big moment for us, having taken all the brilliant minds and engineers that are working on this technology and prove that it works. So that's done. And obviously then the next part of our company's focus was to find a route and a government that wanted to demonstrate that capability and then put it into production. Obviously we think we've found tremendous support here locally, not only in Pune and Mumbai, but as well as in the state and at the federal level. And I'll lay out the time frame for you. In the next 6 months, we're going to do a detailed engineering study, having already completed a successful pre-feasibility study. This feasibility study will look at environmental impact, detailed costs, station locations, economic benefits. Expecting that that will be acceptable, then we'll describe the formation of a public-private partnership, the funding of that project, and begin the first of the parts of that route along the corridor, and then that could occur by 2021.
So the government will have a stake in the Hyperloop company, which will be...
No, this will be a public-private partnership. The formation of that, the funding of that will be determined at the end of this next phase of the feasibility study. So expect to have the answer to that question in 6 months. But the entire framework agreement that we have signed takes us all the way out through the 6-month study, through the procurement vehicle, through the construction of the test and demonstration part, and then the full 140 kilometer corridor.
And I understand that it's going to be operational in 6 to 7 years is the timeline which you have, because in 3 years you're going to start the test, and in another 3 years you're going to put up the entire operational facility, so that the Hyperloop would be operational in 6 to 7 years. For
correct, people. The full route, the full 140 kilometers. But the next 3 years we'll see the completion of this first demonstration part of that. Then we need to work with the regulators to certify the technology and make sure that safety requirements and all the things that both you and I would expect are in place. That then will happen concurrently with the construction of the full 140 kilometer route. All of that is expected to happen in 6 to 7 years, and the demonstration route in the next 3.
You know, it's a big infra project from any standards in India, and Hyperloop itself has raised, what, $250 million in the last few years. I'm assuming that you have to raise more funds for this project, because if everything goes on time, India would be the first country to have a Hyperloop connectivity between two cities. In that sense, what is the fundraising you would need from India, and how would you do it? Are you looking at private investors in, or is it going to be only debt, and where does the government's role come in here?
So this project would be independently funded. This project would have our involvement, but as well we expect to have many important partners in India and elsewhere that actually can see the economic returns on this project. It is one of the best economic returns we've analyzed amongst dozens and dozens of routes around the world. So we're very convinced that private investors, Indian investors, as well as international investors will be very intrigued with this project and will join us in forming that public-private funding for it. And then along with the government, who have been so helpful, giving us their resources, their time, providing us with a right-of-way that does not require us to go and acquire other land, but follows generally the current road corridor.
Which is the Pune-Mumbai Express corridor.
Correct. So because we're a very small footprint, we require much less land than other modes of transport. For example, like high-speed rail, where you need a very large amount of land, and typically you need to move people from their businesses or houses. We won't need to do that in this case, so therefore construction can happen more quickly, the costs are lower, We make much less impact on disruption of people's lives. We have an all-electric green technology. It makes no noise. I think we're obviously very excited because it has so many benefits for the citizens in Maharashtra and those that would choose to live and work anywhere between Pune and Mumbai.
Well, exciting times for those people living in either Pune or Mumbai, especially over the next 7 years. But Prime Minister Nirav Modi, who laid the foundation stone for the Navi Mumbai International Airport in New Bombay, chose to highlight the fact that Indian airlines have put in big orders for aircraft, indicating that air traffic is on the way up. The first phase of the new airport, which is being built by the GVK Group, is expected to be completed by the second half or the end of 2019. The Prime Minister also chose to highlight one of his government's pet projects, Udaan, to drive the point of how the aim is to bring flying to more people and to make it more affordable. Listen in.
इस एक वर्ष में इस देश के एविएशन सेक्टर से लोगों द्वारा 900 नए हवाई जहाज के ऑर्डर बुक किए गए हैं। यानी आजादी के 70 साल हो गए, 450 और इस एक वर्ष में 900 नए हवाई जहाज खरीदने का ऑर्डर बुक हुआ है। आप कल्पना कर सकते हैं कि कितनी तेजी से एविएशन सेक्टर आगे बढ़ रहा है और एविएशन सेक्टर रोजगार की भी नई संभावनाएं लेकर के आता है। और अभी जब देवेंद्र जी बता रहे थे कि इसके साथ ये इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनेगा, जल से, जमीन से, आकाश से, इसके कारण इकोनॉमिकल एक्टिविटी कितनी वाइब्रेंट होती है।
Well, there's a lot to look forward to over the course of the day with regard to live markets and also the news and analysis that we will discuss on Bloomberg Quint Live. But there are also a few stories that you should consider reading on the website, that's bloombergquint.com. First up, state-owned NTPC is in talks to buy out the equity of state utilities in some of its joint venture projects, apart from taking over some of their stressed businesses as part of its drive to augment capacity. ONGC Videsh will bid for development rights of Iran's giant South Azerbaijan oil field in direct competition with global giants like Shell, France's Total, and Petronas and Gazprom. Well, that's all we have for you in this edition of Daybreak, but all you need to know is up next, so do stay tuned. This is Bloomberg Quint.